Back to today's video. Today is Thursday, October 23rd, 2025, and today we're going to be talking about the state of Virginia and a new redistricting push across the state as Democrats look to gain additional seats ahead of the 2026 midterm elections to combat the Republican gerrymanders that we have seen pop up across the nation in Texas, Missouri, North Carolina, and many other states that seem to be considering it on the Republican side to draw additional seats to help pad the loss that Republicans are expecting in the 2026 midterm elections. Now, this was not a video I expected to make today. I actually didn't expect any news to come out of the state of Virginia outside of the governor's race, lieutenant governor's race, attorney general's race, and of course the all-important House of Delegates races that will be up for consideration. And what we are finding is that Democrats in just 4 days will have to make a decision as to whether or not they are passing new laws that would make it so voters would make a choice about redistricting across the state. Now, it's a bit convoluted as to how Virginia can do this redistricting push in the same way that California has done. Redistricting in the state of Virginia has been largely limited on the Democratic side after they put forth a question in Virginia in 2020 asking whether or not an independent commission would end up being implemented in the state. Voters overwhelmingly approved it. 66% of voters consciously made the decision in this state to make it so. Virginia would have an independent commission that would handle all matters related to the drawing of congressional boundaries here in 2025, however. The way in which Virginia's laws work is because it is a constitutional amendment. And in order to amend it, what you have to do is you have to pass a bill that says you want to amend the Constitution through a citizens-led vote. So the state legislature, right now controlled by Democrats in both chambers narrowly, but controlled by Democrats in both chambers, it doesn't matter if the governor signs on to it. The Virginia House and Senate would pass this. And then in order for it to be voted on again, it would have to be passed again, under a new legislature after an election has taken place is what the law actually states. And so Democrats, in a surprise move just days before their 2025 elections, have decided to hold a special session to add in additional seats on the Democratic side. And it is quite rare to see this happening. I mean, we really didn't see that Virginia was going to move forward with it. All the estimations were that if Abigail Spanberger had won the governorship and the House of Delegates had gone lopsided in favor of the Democrats, only then would there be an appetite to do this, and then it would be delayed because the next election would be 2027, and the next time to do it would be in time for the 2028 election. But if this goes according to plan, there is a possibility that they can force this session to draw the election in 4 days. They are reelected 10 days after. They hold another session and host it later on in 2026. They move the filing deadline, and then voters can make a decision and the map can be implemented for the 2026 midterms. So there's a lot of hoops Democrats have to jump through in order to make this happen, but Virginia stands to be the second state in the country on the Democratic side willing to fight back against Donald Trump and the Republican Party as they look to claw their way into winning additional seats across the board. Because Virginia is a blue state. Kamala Harris won the state by 6 points. Hillary Clinton won the state. Joe Biden won the state. Obama won it twice. And Democrats, however, despite that advantage, simply don't hold that many seats in Virginia. In 2020, Democrats held 7 of the total 11 seats in the Commonwealth. After 2024, they were down to just 6, a 1-seat advantage in a state that has reliably voted for the Democratic Party every single presidential election since 2008. And when you think about this advantage that Democrats have, it is very narrow, because if you were to shift the map here by just 5 points to the right, Republicans would have a significant majority, 7-4, and that would throw Democrats completely out of left field when it comes down to the districts that they feel that they should have in this state, given it is blue, 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 given that they have controlled the state legislature and they have the means to do this, and they are about to usher in a massive victory for a Democratic governor in the state. And so thinking about what the Democrats are trying to do in Virginia, it's a lot less about, trying to just change the maps in the future, that they're trying to pass legislation that, that are moving around Virginia in 6 years' time or 5 years' time when the new census is done. This is for the now. This is to take some of these Trump districts and these Republican districts and turn them into Democratic ones. Because the plans I've been seeing circulate around, the Democratic Party and Democrats in Virginia is that they are hoping to get an additional 2 or 3 House seats in this state, which essentially means by where they would target first, well, the very obvious choice is they would go after these 2 districts here in Virginia, make them Democratic districts. They would solidify the districts up here, and then they would go for one of these Republican districts if they wanted to reduce 3 seats from the GOP in the state. Because right now, Republicans do, in fact, have 5. I think what Democrats would try to go for here is that in acknowledgement that voters, overwhelmingly passed this, that the circumstances have changed about elections. And they look to states like Texas, which already had Democrats at 13, that now has Democrats at 8, and they're finding a way to push back against it. Because California's Proposition 50 can only take Democrats so far. Being very honest about, what we see across the board here, if you were just to add in, the same number of seats on the Democratic side and the Republican side, you would find that Proposition 50 and Texas would counteract each other. No guarantee Proposition 50 happens and passes, but I think we're nearing 95% chance that it does. So reasonably, we can conclude that it will be about even. But Republicans have gone for more than just even. Obviously, they did this to have an advantage, and they aren't happy that California has decided to follow suit. But Representative Don Davis in North Carolina, he's done for. That district is safe red. That's going to go to the Republican Party. In Ohio, they're set to take away 2 additional seats from the Democratic Party. That goes to the Republicans. In Missouri, they just passed a new map, shifting over an additional seat in favor of the GOP. That benefits the Republicans. And in Indiana, which seems to be in limbo right now, there is heavy consideration that they will still continue to fight for it, and if they do succeed, adds in an additional district for the Republican Party. And so what that essentially does, if all else is equal, the last cycle that Democrats were only down in the majority by 5, they'd be down by 15. And it makes it that much more difficult for Democrats to find their way and path to a majority. So you just saw North Carolina, Missouri, Indiana, and to be fair, let's go ahead and throw Indiana back a Democratic seat here because the Democrats have halted it for now. But being very realistic about it, you have North Carolina, you have Missouri, you have Texas. Those are 7 seats so far. And then you have Ohio, which is set to redraw 2 additional seats in favor of the Republican Party. That's 8 and 9. Well, if Democrats only have 5 in California, they need to find the seats elsewhere. But they've been very limited, right? In Illinois, the members of the Illinois Democratic delegation have already said they have no appetite to redraw their map there. It's already an excessive gerrymander, but also the question is, to what extent would they be willing to go in 2024? Democrats had 14 seats here. Could they get to 15? Could they lose a district as a result of it? We'd have to wait and see. But in Virginia in specific, what it essentially would do is take the Republicans from 224, throw this over to the Dems. They flip 2 of the districts here, 3 of the districts rather. The Democrats are down, sure, on the 2024 map, but only by 1 more seat. That's different than being down, 15 seats and instead 6. So it's a difference for sure, or 7 seats. It's a difference for sure. It's a slight change in favor of the Republican Party, but it's not as significant as it might be. And if Virginia can realistically pull this through, which if given that Prop 50 might actually pass by a larger margin than Kamala Harris won the state by in 2024, that would be a great opportunity for the Democrats to really lock in Virginia. And if they can do it, it could mean a lot for the National Democratic Party. It could essentially nullify any of the Republican gains, save maybe 1 or 2 seats, when Republicans were trying to garner 8 to 10 additional seats ahead of 2026. Because something the Trump White House did not expect is that Democrats who have been arguing the case of moral purism and purity on redistricting across the country and on gerrymandering seem to believe that it is now this moment where they refuse to be walked all over. In California, it is the voters, 75% of them voting yes, say they're only voting yes to push back against Trump and national Republicans. 75%. In Virginia, you will find a huge appetite from a lot of the Democrats in this state. Now, whether or not it makes it through the legislature, which already has a slim advantage for the Democrats, maybe not. But if it does go through, this is an 11th hour decision by the state of Virginia and by the Virginia Democratic delegation. And if it goes through, would be an immense victory for the Democratic Party going into 2026. And seriously could help combat what Republicans have been trying to do for the past few months now, which is steal seats from the Democratic Party. To rewrite the maps to make it impossible for Democrats to come close to winning the majority in 2026. That's why they're going after the Voting Rights Act. That's why they're going after a lot of these states. That's why they're trying to draw the maps, all the way right, because they know that they're wrong and they can't win an election in 2026. And Trump knows it too. So, Virginia Democrats fighting fire with fire, the second state in the country on the Democratic side willing to fight back against Donald Trump and the Republicans across this nation who are stealing seats from the Democratic Party, and they are not willing to allow the Republicans to just walk all over them. And we will see if any other Democratic states follow suit. Illinois, Maryland very well could, because as you see, your neighboring state and surrounding ones too, deciding to make that move, chances are it only encourages those Democrats in those states that want to feel like they are part of something bigger, that they are finding their way to push back against the President of the United States. And in Virginia, it seems that they have. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the top left of the screen, there's also a Discord server for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video for you to watch, and then a playlist for my 2026 House election analysis videos. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow.